From the Journal of Nuclear Cardiology, this is JNC Cardio Connect, linking experts, insights, and innovations in nuclear cardiology. Let's dive into the next episode.
Welcome to this new episode of JNC Cardio Connect, Beyond the Abstract. I am Marcelo Di Carli. I'm the editor-in-chief of the Journal of Nuclear Cardiology. And today we will have a wonderful conversation on a new and exciting paper published in the journal. For decades, SPECT myocardial perfusion imaging has been the workhorse of non-invasive cardiac diagnostics because it's widely available, it's affordable, and has been clinically proven to be effective in diagnosis and risk stratification. As we face a new era that is dominated by non-obstructive coronary disease and microvascular disease, the lack of routine blood flow quantification has limited SPECT's MPI role compared to PET. We have new digital SPECT cameras that offer high sensitivity and speed to make flow quantification possible. However, we're still constrained by older tracers like technetium, sestamib, and tetraphosphine, which don't accurately track blood flow at higher rates. That has been a major limitation, especially, as I mentioned, for the growing population of cardiometabolic risk and microvascular disease. In today's episode, we will go behind the abstract of a very important paper just published in the journal. And joining me to discuss this paper are Yufan Gu, who is a PhD student at the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences Fuwai Hospital and Peking Union Medical College. The senior author of the paper, Dr. Lei Wai, who is Deputy Chief of Nuclear Medicine at the Chinese Academy of Medical Sciences Fuwai Hospital and the National Center for Cardiovascular Diseases, and Panithia Charantaitui, who is Deputy Editor of the journal and also serves currently as President of the American Society of Nuclear Cardiology. Welcome to all of you to this episode of JNC Cardio Connect. I really appreciate your time. And Lei, we will start with you. Tell us what motivated your group to undertake this investigation.
Thank you very much, Marcelo. Thank you for the introduction. As you already said, we all know that SPECT myocardial perfusion imaging is the most widely used non-invasive test for detecting heart ischemia. The new CCT cameras now allow us to quantify myocardial blood flow due to its capability for least mode acquisition and high sensitivity. That brings us to the crucial next question. What's the ideal perfusion tracer we need to make quantitative SPECT truly work? Essentially, we need a tracer with a high first-pass extraction fraction, a linear uptake flow relationship, stable myocardial retention, and of course, low background uptake. The challenge takes us back to the early 1990s to a tracer named tabroxine. It was really promising. It had a high first-pass extraction fraction and a much better linear uptake flow relationship, but it had two fatal flaws: an ultra-fast washout from the heart and a very high liver uptake. So even though it got FDA approval, it never really made it into clinical practice. In light of that history, our research has focused on the tabroxine-like tracers, particularly boronic acid adducts of technetium dioxide complexes. We wanted to keep the high initial uptake, but to overcome the rapid washout. Over the past 10 years, our team has synthesized and evaluated more than 30 of these compounds. What we've found is that boronate capping groups significantly influence the tracer's cardiac uptake, myocardial retention, and its liver kinetics. And that's how we were fortunate enough to identify 4BOH. our goal has remained clear: to develop a novel perfusion tracer that's perfectly paired with modern imaging systems, and hopefully to make this accurate, accessible, and affordable quantitative myocardial blood flow technology available to clinicians.
Okay, this is wonderful and really so refreshing to hear the rationale and the long work, which of course we weren't aware until your publications begin to surface. So thank you very much, Lei. Yufan, we're going to you now. You are the first author of the paper. Tell us what were the main results of your investigation?
Okay, thanks Dr. DiCarli and thanks for this opportunity. First, the distribution of FOBOH in myocardium was uniform and myocardial walls were clearly visualized. Reversible or fixed myocardial defects were clearly detected, which were consistent to coronary artery stenosis on angiography. In the third part, FOBOH was compared with table and MIBI to study kinetic properties in SWAN. MIBI showed the lowest heart uptake. Table exhibited high initial heart uptake, but rapid washout within 4 minutes after injection. Notably, FOBOH showed similar high initial heart uptake, but much longer myocardial retention. Besides, FOBOH possessed the highest heart-to-liver ratios in the initial 8 minutes. The compartment model was applied to extract the kinetic parameters influx rate K1 and efflux rate K2. Both rest and stress K1 values of FOBOH were significantly higher than those of MIBI. There was no statistical difference in the K1 values of FOBOH and table. K2 values of FOBOH were significantly lower than those of table. In the fourth part, FOBOH was compared with MIBI and ammonia on 2 separate cohorts, each comprising 10 patients. There were no adverse events associated with FOBOH imaging. FOBOH showed higher heart signals than those of MIBI. Although the liver uptake of FOBOH seemed higher, heart-to-liver ratios of FOBOH were close to those of MIBI 15 minutes after injection. As for kinetic parameter calculation, adenosine stress induced significant increase in K1 values. K1 of FOBOH were significantly higher than those of MIBI and well correlated with ammonia myocardial blood flow. In conclusion, FOBOH exhibited an encouraging pharmacokinetic profile with high and relatively stable cardiac uptake. It constitutes a promising candidate as myocardial perfusion radiotracer for spectral blood flow quantification. Thank you.
Wonderful, Yufan. Thank you so much. If I could just simply summarize, the investigation is so comprehensive that I will encourage all the listeners to actually go to the paper because it's very rich in data and it has validation in 2 animal models and then early validation in humans, again, highlighting what you just said. The tracer showed on every model high extraction, high retention, and most importantly, very close correlation with tracers that we use clinically, like N13 ammonia, for quantification of myocardial blood flow. And the images look really spectacular with very good target to background ratios. So thank you. Lei, we're going back to you now because after all this work, what's next with your group on this particular lead compound that you have developed?
Okay, so we knew that FOBOH has shown promising results in earlier studies, but we really wanted to dig deeper into one of its core properties of perfusion tracers, such as the extraction fraction. To test this, we used the isolated perfused red heart models at low, medium, high flow rates. At the same time, we compared 4BOH with teproxine and MIB. And the results are very exciting. We presented this work at the ASNAC Young Investigator Award session this year. What we found was that 4BOH has an extremely high extraction fraction, 0.94 to be exact. That is comparable to teproxine and significantly greater than MIB. More importantly, even when we increase flow rates, 4BOH maintained that high EF. It didn't roll off. That gives us a lot of confidence moving forward into imaging studies. We know that independent validation, like using microspheres or cardiac PET, is a necessary step, so we further compared 4BOH CZT SPECT against ammonia PET in 45 patients with suspected CAD. And the results showed that the K1 values of 4BOH highly correlated with ammonia PET flow measurements, and good agreement between the two tracers. So right now, we are planning to explore its diagnostic performance in non-inferior clinical trial. We will be using invasive angiography-derived QFR as the reference standard. We're also looking into whether we can use the standard SPECT scanners that most hospitals already have for 4BOH imaging to help its future promotion. We are fully aware that the journey from a novel compound to an approval drug is a long one. It's exactly as Marcelo highlighted in the editor's page, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. We are hopeful this investigator-initiated trials can generate valuable evidence in parallel to the ongoing IND experiments and phase 1 trial, helping to pave the way forward.
Thank you, Lei. The body of work is just amazing and very exciting for the field. Panithia, now we're going to you because you're not only a deputy editor of the journal, but you also have the big picture of where the field is going. And how would you put this work in the context of what you're seeing has happened in our field over the last 10 years? And what do you think is going to be our future given all these new technologies?
Well, thank you very much, Marcelo. Thanks for including me. And again, congratulations to Dr. Gu and Dr. Wang and their team for this really great and comprehensive work and the excellent paper. So I think as you know, we're really seeing a shift in the type of coronary disease we encounter today. Instead of the more classic focal high-grade stenoses that defined CAD decades ago, we're now seeing a broader spectrum of diffuse atherosclerosis, microvascular dysfunction, and ischemia without severe obstructive disease. So that means that our imaging goals have evolved as well. And we need to move beyond relative perfusion and really be performing precision physiology, understanding flow, resistance, and the true functional impact of disease. And so traditionally, PET has shown us what's been possible in this space. We've been doing quantitative myocardial blood flow. This has transformed how we evaluate patients and think about coronary physiology. But globally, many centers just simply won't have access to PET now, or maybe not even decades from now, because of cost, infrastructure, or tracer supply. So I think the real challenge for us as a field and for ASNAC as a global society is, how do we democratize this capability? How do we bring the power of quantitative flow to every patient everywhere around the world? And so I think this is why the work is so exciting. With this new technetium-based tracer, it offers the high extraction fraction and stable retention. And I think it makes true flow quantification possible with SPECT. And so I think it's innovation within reach, very exciting. It's a modality that is accessible worldwide, giving it really new physiologic depth. But of course, there'll be challenges. Translating a novel tracer from first in human study to clinical adoption takes time. regulatory approval, reproducibility across systems, robust multi-center validation, and training for clinicians that might be unfamiliar with dynamic SPECT protocols. So I think we'll need industry partners and standardized software and really thoughtful implementation to make sure that this doesn't stay just a research tool. But I think this is precisely the kind of innovation we should be championing, science that makes precision imaging more accessible, wearing my ASNIC president hat, that our mission is to advance high-quality, patient-centered nuclear cardiology around the world. So this kind of work really points the way forward. It's not SPECT versus PET, but bringing every tool we have to deliver precise, equitable, and impactful imaging for every patient everywhere.
Thank you, Panithia. And that is a great place where we can end our conversation. I just want to thank Dr. Wei and Dr. Gu for the wonderful work and for choosing the Journal of Nuclear Cardiology to publish this work. This article is the editor speak for the month of October, so you can download it for free. Just one single click and you will have the entire paper. Get beyond the abstract, read this, get excited, because I think this is the beginning of a wonderful new era of innovation and quantification in the field of nuclear cardiology. And we hope to see more of this work in the future. So for our audience, thank you for listening and goodbye.